to go over these two different arguments for and against the Electoral College. So the first argument is for the Electoral College to keep the current system because the Electoral College preserves needed checks and balances. The Electoral College ensures that our national politics stay national. It keeps states in charge of election administration and contains disputes within individual states. Under our current system, there are no nationwide recounts, and presidential appointees do not run presidential elections. Eliminating the Electoral College or nullifying it with the popular vote interstate compact would eliminate these benefits and radically change American politics. So, as we learned yesterday, the reason why we have the Electoral College is because of a compromise that was made when the U.S. Constitution was written. So that's sort of what this is telling us. At the Constitutional Convention, the primary concern of delegates opposed to direct election was that big states would dominate presidential politics. By using a two-step election process, the Electoral College prevents one region or a handful of major metropolitan areas like popular coastal cities from controlling the White House. Support must be geographically distributed around the country in order to win enough states to capture an electoral vote majority, which is why we have the Electoral College, because that assigns each state a certain number of votes, which in theory is based off of the amount of people that live there, but it's just slightly different. We're going to skip ahead to here. The National Popular Vote Compact, which 15 states have joined, would eliminate incentives to build a nationwide coalition. Geographic diversity would be irrelevant in the election, and with no runoffs or no minimum threshold to win, a national public vote would encourage fringe parties and spoiler candidates, leading to winners with smaller and smaller pluralities. So basically, like smaller and smaller, like actual differences in the amount that people win. The Popular Vote Compact would rely on each participating state to certify for itself a national vote total. These states are expected to trust with no power to verify the accuracy, honesty of every other state's elections. They would aggregate votes across jurisdictions with different rules and processes, likely violating the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution. So again, just sort of reiterating what we talked about earlier, but this two-step process of the popular vote and then the Electoral College prevents this regionalism, and some, like the Electoral College, reduce the possibility of having winners with small pluralities and decentralized support, meaning that their support is across the nation, not just in one place. Proposals to eliminate the Electoral College or to do an end run with the Popular Vote Compact would eliminate these checks and balances in favor of a simple majority. So here's just like some bullets of reasons to keep the Electoral College. The Founding Fathers thought it was the best way to choose the president. So these guys back in 1787, 200 plus years ago, the U.S. Constitution should be amended only rarely. So we should keep the Constitution the way that it was written, according to this author who we're reading right now. It safeguards against uninformed and uneducated voters. So this person is suggesting that if someone is uninformed or uneducated, that we should not trust how they cast their vote. It prevents states with larger populations from having undue influence, such as California, Texas, Florida, New York. It forces presidential candidates to campaign in all parts of the country so that candidates don't just campaign in areas where there's like a ton of people. And it lessens the likelihood of calls for recounts or demands for runoff elections. So now let's look at the other side of this argument that the Electoral College should follow the popular vote. Americans want a popular vote for president. Fortunately, how the Electoral College functions is up to the states. Articles 2, Section 1 of the Constitution says, each state shall appoint in such manner as the legislature thereof may direct a number of electors. The red and blue map we watch on election night is not set in stone. It's set in state statutes. 48 states have adopted the winner-take-all law. This law, for example, gave then candidate Donald Trump all of Pennsylvania's 20 electors the moment he got one more vote than Hillary Clinton inside Pennsylvania. Winner take all is creating problems for states and the country as a whole. Consider the winner take all rule is why 70% of American voters are ignored while campaigns shower attention to 5 of the 12 battleground states. In 2016, two-thirds of the general election campaign spending and events took place in only 6 states. 94% was centered in just 12 states. Ignoring so many voters has an impact beyond campaigns. Florida and other battleground states get more disaster declarations, more federal waivers, more presidentially controlled spending, and so on. The winner take all rule is why the second place candidate has won the White House twice in our lifetimes, referring to the second place candidate, referring to George Bush in 2000 and Donald Trump in 2016. States are already working to fix the Electoral College. Since 2006, the National Popular Vote Bill has passed in 15 states plus the District of Columbia. These 16 jurisdictions hold 196 electors. The bill will take effect when enacted by states with 74 more electoral votes to reach a majority, 270 out of 538, which we need 270 electoral votes to win. The Electoral College would be guaranteed to follow the popular vote winner because enacting states agree to award their electors to the candidates who won the popular vote in all 50 states plus Washington, D.C. Under the National Popular Vote Bill, every vote will be equal. Every voter in every state will matter in every election, and the candidate with the most votes will go to the White House. Opponents of a popular vote have a tough time arguing that votes shouldn't be equal, so they float obscure arguments against states adopting a new law for electors. For instance, they argue that New York and California will somehow swamp all the rest of us, ignoring that these two big states make up only 18% of the country. Opponents argue we won't have an official tally of the popular vote, or that a Secretary of State could thwart the country's ability to have an official tally. Neither argument is accurate because federal regulations, 3 U.S. Code 6, require states to file election totals 6 days ahead of the meeting of electors, which happens in December. Opponents seem to believe state officials could keep the vote totals secret, ignoring the fact that results from the precincts are public and seen by hundreds of poll workers. These weak arguments have not been persuasive in 16 jurisdictions, referring to 16 states, including the District of Columbia. It's time to use the power granted by the U.S. Constitution and award electoral voters to the winner of the national popular vote. Once a handful more states join, Americans will elect the president under a system that treats every vote equally and guarantees that the candidate with the most votes is the candidate who goes to the White House. So, reasons to abolish the Electoral College. 1, it is no longer relevant. This person's arguing that this was written back in 1787. The Electoral College, that was 200 plus years ago. Let's try something new. The Constitution has been amended before, therefore it can be done again. We have made amendments to the U.S. Constitution, so why not make amendments again? We've already set that precedent. It gives too much attention and power to swing states. The swing states definitely get a lot of more attention and favor during the presidential election. It allows the presidential election to be decided by a handful of states. It can ignore the will of the people, since the popular vote doesn't always mean that the president is winning, which is what the people are calling for, the majority of people. And the candidate who wins the most votes does not necessarily win the election, as has happened 1, 2, 3, 4, and possibly 5, 6 times.